Thank you for tuning in to Sevier Strategy, your automotive podcast. I'm your host, John Sevier.
And I am your co-host, Sarah Moore.
And today we'll be kicking off our 3-part series of engagement strategies by focusing on video and the texting portion. And, without further ado, I want to just kind of jump into this here. We're really excited to introduce our very first guest today. He's been given the nickname Jimmy Neutron. He doesn't think of this, but I call him Ric Flair just because of the awesome, ability he has to be eccentric all the time. But he is best known as the Live with Drive guy.
With Drive.
Steve, how are you doing today?
Hey, John and Sarah, great. Just having a great Monday right now.
Good. Thanks so much for joining us today. For our viewers and listeners, if you can, just tell us a little bit more about yourself, Steve, and who you are.
Yeah, my name is Steve Roessler. Been with Drive Centric going on 5 years. Before I got into automotive, though, my passion has been really startup companies. It's probably one of the biggest things I always like to talk to dealerships about is, just the startup alley I've been on. I was in the medical industry prior to the automotive and started 2 companies. And the reason why I got into automotive was I just believe in CRM. And now I'm representing a CRM company with Drive Centric, as you know. And what lured me into this business, though, was literally the topic we're talking about is the video aspect primarily. I mean, texting is obviously a big part of communication. But, as we go out there and we communicate with customers, we have to adapt with the behaviors of what's going on in the market. And so it was a great opportunity to take the knowledge I've had from previous industries and now apply it in the car industry. It's been great. It's been a wild ride. I almost wish I was in the car industry a lot longer than what I am. So
I knew you kind of hit the ground running with that too. Yeah. So
yeah, absolutely. And you're the perfect guest really for us to bring on first for video and texting. Personally with me here as a BDC manager, we use video for our communication with customers, and we see about a 70 to 80% open and click-through rate for those. So if you could just, for people who are not using videos currently, can you tell me a little bit like why they should do video or what should they do to implement that?
Yeah, and first and foremost, anybody that tries to do video, the first thing that everybody thinks about is, well, how am I going to start doing it? I mean, you guys are seeing a great success rate. And so for even people who are not even starting with video, and I'll even go back to even just when I got in the car business, I started using video as a way of just branding myself as a salesperson. And for all us people who are salespeople, I think that's the most important element we forget about is what we're doing out there is really branding who we are. So yeah, when we start sending video and the way customers perceive us in the car business, because you got to go back and look again at the data. 90% of customers don't trust us. And everything is so readily available now on the computer. Customers can research the cars. They can learn more about the car and know that when I come into that dealership, I can get in and out of there as fast as possible, hopefully. So the video is now just an extension of your showroom. We can now bring the customer the car. We could talk to them about, what we expect. Like if they're going to be coming in, do they need to bring in their driver's license and insurance card and all that fun stuff instead of something like email. And I think that's what we just got to think about, the ways we communicate. If just go back to the basics and say words is 7% how we communicate. I mean, how many times, Sarah, have you written an email and it got taken out of context, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's easy to misconstrue text instead of just talking to one another.
Yeah. And so if that's 7% on how we communicate, and we know we struggle with that, and I know as a BDC, you want to get everybody on the phone, right? Let's just
absolutely.
The next step is phone. So if I can increase your words with tone, you're now communicating an extra 38%. Now you're at 45%. That's why it's so important to get people on the phone. So now if we take it up another notch, and I know, John, you could kind of attest to this, but Sarah too, is we want to get everybody in the showroom, right? And it's because we get not only your words, not just your tone, but your body language. And that's, if you just kind of think of video as an extension of your showroom, that's why you're seeing the success you're doing with video. And I think that's what we got to educate dealers on, is just the metrics of why we're doing video, because of what it does. It's how we communicate.
So, based off of what you're saying, I think we can all sit here, and I know for us, we completely understand the importance of video. The thing about video, though, is you can utilize it a couple of different ways. So, kind of starting with sales, if I'm a salesperson, Steve, and I know you've gone around to these dealerships to help sales, kind of create not only a social strategy, but utilizing video with their customers. So to kind of start there, tell me, if I'm a salesperson, how should I be using video, or what ways should I leverage video?
Yeah, the very first thing that I try to tell every salesperson is before you type up that email, think about what you want to say in the email and just do a video instead. That's the first thing. Don't make it harder than what it is. There's some things like when it comes to sending an email, like I think you can get away with tweeting an email. But when it comes to, getting started, I just think in terms of challenging the salesperson, say, I can send them a video. The problem is the head trash we have as salespeople, right? I love the word head trash. And, Sarah, you're laughing. John, you're laughing.
Yes, spot on.
You know where I'm going with this, because
I know, yeah.
I learned this definition probably 25 years ago. I mean, I'm dating myself in sales. But, head trash, just so everybody knows, is it's what you're predicting is the outcome that prevents you from doing what you think you should do. So you choose not to do it. So it's just like saying, well, I don't want to send a video. That customer doesn't want to see a video of me. And then I just don't do the video. That's head trash. So I think from a salesperson, when I'm going out there, I try to eliminate that head trash. And a lot of it is just, you have to challenge yourself, and it's hard to do. You got to challenge yourself to just do the video and know that there's upstream marketing benefits that come to it. I can't put a tangible thing on it unless, like, you get a response, you sell a car, positive engagement. And those are the things you just got to know that those acts, the video is going to make an impact. You got to believe that. Otherwise, you just won't do it.
I couldn't agree more. And on the flip side of that, Sarah definitely has that expertise in the BDC world of shooting video. But I know you and I have talked, and this is why I wanted to bring up this subject, is because you definitely have some very progressive ways to implement video and to shoot video for a BDC as well. So taking out the easy answer here of send a video as a response to an internet lead, what are some of the unique ways that we can leverage a video and the video culture in the BDC or internet?
Yeah,
department?
well, I mean, and I'll even take it a step further, because again, I think that's what we think video is. It's a one and done in most dealerships today. I think I would take it a step further and say, you could go from A to Z with video. We obviously talk about walk around videos, introduction videos, confirm appointment videos. I mean, do we really believe that if you're going to send Sarah a confirm appointment video, are you more than likely going to get a response that says, well, I can't make 2:00, but maybe I'll be there at 3:00. I got delayed at the doctor's, or whatever it may be. Obviously, if somebody comes in and doesn't buy the car, but they want to go look at other dealerships, will that customer, if we could send them a thank you video for coming in the showroom and just giving us the opportunity, do you think they're more than likely to come back because of that experience? And then, you got birthday videos, anniversary videos. I mean, some of the other things that I'm talking about, with other, stores as far as ideas is the absentee spouse video, right? I mean, how many times does the spouse come in looking for a car, the other spouse is at work, but yet they're going to say, well, I'm going to come in this weekend, Sarah. And, let's send, the spouse who's working, whether it's the husband, the wife, whatever, let's take the opportunity, put the customer in the video, make them feel special, and then send the spouse the video and say, hey, I'm over here at the dealership. I wanted to show you this car. I mean, how cool. See, Sarah, you're laughing because it's just an out of the box way of thinking. And
Agreed.
We just got to make video fun. These are not, I think the one other misconception out there is these are not professional videos. They are not meant to be professional. I don't have to look good like I do today.
You always look good, Steve.
It's the hair.
But I've shot videos with ball caps on. Okay. And okay, fine. I'm known as Jimmy Neutron because of my hair. But you know how many responses I get when I send a video and I'm wearing a hat? Because people notice that they can't see my hair. Okay. That's just, I mean, it's okay not to be on your all-star performance look. You know what I mean? And even YouTube says the best videos out there are the ones that are more just you. It doesn't have to be all the lights and all the fluff. And let's just talk to the customer. And that's at the end of the day, I think, what customers want, given the data from Google.
And to your point, Steve, I think a good thing to bring up here is they already mistrust us. They already think if they're submitting their information to a dealership, they can get these wonderful looking marketing e-brochures back. And I'm not saying that they're not valuable, but it definitely doesn't seem to have that personal touch, or somebody actually sat down at their computer and typed out a personal response back to that customer, because it's typically buried between all of these images and these long paragraphs that you can typically see in these type of responses. And to your point, if I'm wearing that baseball cap or, a team jersey, even though it might be the opposite team of what they want, right? I'm a big Reds fan. I know, Steve, you're a St. Louis fan, so I would probably be a little upset if you wore a St. Louis jersey on your response back, but I would at least comment on it, and I would know it's you. You're a real human being, and you took the time to actually respond back to me. And building that level of rapport with the customer adds some things to it that you can't really pass up, such as if I send you a regular email and you read it, to your point again, you can read it a certain way. But it's so easy for me as a customer to just not respond if I read something that I don't like. I don't have any attachment to you. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you look like. And with video, it kind of adds a little bit of that element to it that you would get in-person sales in the dealership, which is I know what you look like. I'm more likely to say yes to you than no because of that interaction. And I think it's all of these benefits that you keep discussing. It's the building rapport. It's getting your face in front of them. From the sales perspective, even outside of the BDC, one of the things that you can see is if I shoot that video to you to say happy birthday, if I took over somebody else's sales, some people call it orphan sales, or I'm following up with you and I've never met with you before and it's an appointment video, guess what? You know what I look like. You know what I look like. And the benefit there is when you come in, it's like a free skate alert. And I know that word's used around the industry, but it's like a free skate alert because I know I'm going to go directly to you because I saw your face on that video, not the person that comes up and says, oh, well, don't worry about that guy. He's busy. I'll help you out.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I just think that, let me, again, just going back and just thinking about that 90%. I mean, I like seeing the 90%. I don't want that to, we as an industry, we look at that as like, oh my gosh, we got a big hole to climb out of, right? Let's just take it from that perspective. And I look at it differently. I think if I'm a dealership and I hear 90% of customers don't trust us, man, that's a lot of opportunity out there to really brand myself to be different. And that's again to, we're going and talking about video, and John, I think I shared with you a video of a BDC person that sent a ghosting video using Snapchat. And, and it got posted in some of the posts out there, and there was positive feedback, a lot more positive feedback than there were negative. And I look at the people that were negative about it, and I just sit there and think they're in the 90%. They're the ones that are not being different. And, and people are at the end of the day are going to buy from who they like. And people say, well, I look good on video. Well, you don't look any better in person is what I would tell you to. And you know what? If that's the way it is, I mean, as a consumer, if I don't like what you look like on video, I surely am not going to like you in person. I'm going to go find a different salesperson anyway. So we got to remember, it's just not, we got to put ourselves out there. Let's make an impression. And let's give the customer with what they want. The customers are screaming for, and if we take a look at even the data, and I don't know, John, if I shared this information with you over a conversation, but or you may have shared it with me, 30% of the customers that bought in 2018 when that study from Experian were what? Millennials. What are and Gen Zs? Mm-hmm. What do they communicate with? Text, and they're doing Snapchat. They're doing all the video stuff anyway. You're almost on their term. They're not going to pick up the phone. So sometimes when we're doing these videos, and I know we're going to get into texting, but that's going to enable us to earn the right to get what probably Sarah and what you want is get people on the phone because people just won't pick up the phone.
I think you're spot on. And one of the things that we said in our very first episode that we kind of teased the segment that we're doing and having you on here as an expert for video is, I brought up a saying that I saw online, which is you can have the recipe for success, but you still have to cook. And what that's about is execution. And, when I hear video, that saying always pops in my head because, as I talk to other BDC directors or GMs or salespeople, you typically hear, hey, I agree, video is important. I think video is a wonderful thing, but I don't know how to get it into my dealership. I don't know how to motivate my salespeople to do it. I don't know how to get it, logistically or through a system, just if you're not technologically savvy, how to set it up. That's a big obstacle to overcome. And so I want to make sure that the listeners that are paying attention to this podcast and listening to the great advice that you're really giving. How do we overcome that? How do we get it implemented into our dealership? How do we get that as part of our culture, Steve?
I started saying this word several months ago, and I mean, sometimes, the best ideas just come up by accident. And I use the word, we need to celebrate video at the dealership. And what I mean by celebrating dealership is I go out there and I have a video presentation. I'm showing best practices of video. And I've gone out to dealerships, presented, NADA, digital, all the different shows and showing this. And the one thing that's always remarkable is I could show videos from every dealership. And you know what the audience does? They laugh. So I'm almost like, how do I bring that presentation of what I'm sharing into a dealership? And it just came across me to, the word celebrate video. So if a store is sending out video and I can kind of share what like Sarah is doing, what John is doing, and so showing the best engagement. This customer, they came in, they responded. The customer said, thank you very much for the video, or I only came into the dealership because of that video. I got an LOL response because the person did something out of the box. We need to celebrate the positivity of what video is doing to create the culture that it's working for other people. And if we don't do that, so one of the things that I'm kind of challenged myself to do, and John, you're an inspiration maybe because I got to do something like this, and I want to have a video contest. And so like we're 1 week, for example, just take 1 week. And let's just say, if we're going to celebrate video, what are we going to do today? Well, maybe it's the best walk around video response. Let's, each of my salespeople, you're going to turn in one video that does a walk around response. Maybe next week it's confirm appointment. The next week it's, birthday video. The following week after that, it's a dead deal video, whatever. But the whole idea is let's celebrate video and start creating ideas and sharing those ideas within salespeople. And then they'll be like, you know what, that's a great idea. And you know what, does it impact everybody? Probably not. But if you're going to impact the culture, you can't have 1-2 guys go rogue, say, well, I've been here 20 years. I'm always selling 25, 30 cars or whatever it may be. They're going to be kind of the poison of the dealership that I'm not going to do it because that guy doesn't do it. So,
right.
Or, if you don't celebrate video, then you could do things like obviously spiffs, which I know some stores do. There's different ways of creating spiffs. But make it a part of the deal. Did you send a video to this customer? If they delivered a car, you get X amount of money, with that delivery because it was part of the process. So I prefer to celebrate the video because it creates positive behavior and a reward. I mean, selling the car should be the reward anyway. If you even just go take a look at what TrueCar and AutoHook did, let's take a look. Let's go back and think about, price, right? Everybody's price conscious. But if you create, customers will drive an extra 30 minutes and spend an extra $1,000 on a car for a better experience. And so all of a sudden now, if you're getting paid on gross, well, there you go. Let's create the positive experience. And that's what I always think we lose is the customer. I think we always think of it as let's just do the task to do the task. It's not about the customer.
No, I agree with you. And, when I talk about video, one of the things that I discuss is kind of getting over that hurdle, right? And getting over that hump of uncomfortability with doing it. I mean, let's face it, the people we're dealing with in sales are typically good face-to-face with, hopefully so, with customers. But shooting video and putting yourself on camera and seeing yourself played back is definitely a weird feeling. And a lot of people just don't feel comfortable doing it. But Sarah, I know you started years back with video instead of sending out email responses. I mean, from your perspective, when you were in the agent's shoes, how did you feel about doing that, and what helped you overcome that?
Yeah, that seems like such a long time ago now, but I remember when we first started talking about doing that and, the uniqueness to that and why we should just jump in and start doing this for the outcome that we get from it. And a lot of people had this hesitation, or they were scared because it was something different. And one of the big things is that you have to stay innovative in this industry in order to reach people and to communicate better. So essentially, jumping into those videos and doing them and just seeing the unique responses and the engagement I got from them, because I was giving that face to a name, or I was personalizing and just holding up a whiteboard with their name on it, like saying good morning or good afternoon, and they're curious, like, what is this for? This has my name on it. Like, I want to open this. Whereas an email, they might be wondering, hey, am I even talking to someone? So a little bit about video is some of the things that we've talked about. It's about being unique, but also just to have some tips to encourage people to just jump in and do it. That way they kind of get those nerves out of the way. But some of that involves, a little bit about like what you said, Steve, just kind of game planning, what you're going to talk about before you do start your video, kind of like what we would do with a call. You want to make sure you're prepared with what you're going to say and things like that. Do you have any sort of tips that you would provide to people who are starting and kind of what to include
Yeah,
in their
I mean,
video or
I
how to
always say
go about that?
props relax me. Okay, I use a lot of props. So my coffee cup right here is a prop, and I'm doing. I'll say top of the morning to you, or like you got all the holidays and stuff like
Love
Christmas
it.
hats. You got St. Patty's Day. I mean, go look at just a national calendar, and you'd be surprised what you could celebrate every single day of the year. You know what I mean? But I think that the thing too is just these videos should be about 30 seconds. We do a lot in 30 seconds.
Hmm.
I always think in terms of saying it is easier than typing it. And you're right, sir. I think a lot of people, because of the video aspect and it's personalized, the emails that come across is that a bot. I think people know that there's automated templates that
Yeah.
go out, and that's why the video, it's you're
Hmm.
saying the customer's name. I would say when you're doing the video, make sure you say the customer's names 2 times, at the very beginning and at the end. But like I said, I love the idea of props. I mean, there's some people that, if I can use my hand gestures, like if I can, like, depending upon the video platform you're using, most video platforms, there's your phone number, your contact information. You can say, hey, I can reply back to this video. Make sure you do a call to action item. My phone number is below, but let's be real. How many customers are going to call you? I mean, I've given messages, I've sent emails, say, oh, please give me a call. Nobody does that. As us as salespeople, it's our responsibility to call the customer. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, if there's anything. So, what I try to say is, what is a good time to call you? What is a good time for us to connect for 5 minutes? If I got to fill out their credit information and I need to get on the phone because you don't want to misconstrue everything. Sometimes if you know that they're clicking on the video and they're watching it, you'll probably get a reply if you ask for an actionable item. So, like I said, I think everybody has got to find out taking, the prop idea, for example. It could be a pen in the ear. Some people just use a pen in the ear. And I got several salespeople that I call them the pen in the ear guys or gals, because so have fun with it. And there's no right or wrong way to do it.
To that fun part that you pulled out, I've got to actually give Sarah some credit here. So in the BDC, and this is credit to you as well, Steve, because you're the one. When we started video, I was reaching out to Steve. He was a huge resource for us to have kind of in the BDC space to shoot these videos and make them personable. And it's definitely seems like, hey, I should be sitting up straight, wearing a tie, maybe even a suit, being extremely professional. And when you actually stop doing that and listen to the advice that Steve is giving here, and just be a normal person and a normal human being, you notice that the interactions actually change. And so the interesting thing that we had done in our staff before is, for Halloween, we had somebody literally dressed up as a shark. I mean, they had a full body shark costume, and he's shooting videos, to the customers. And that addressed two things that I want to kind of go over with you here. One of the things that it fixed is it created such a fun culture in that BDC at that time, because then you had people, laughing like, oh my God, I just shot a video as this person, I'm wearing a mask or whatever. Nothing was scary. Nothing was over the line. Of course, we were very cautious of, what they were wearing. But, that shark costume, you would not believe the type of customer responses that came back.
Yeah.
They loved it. They loved it. And the reason that they liked it so much was because of that personal touch and the fact that it was, a unique video. No one else was sending that. It made them laugh. They re-engaged us, and it was a huge culture win. It turned quickly into that competition level of, okay, who can shoot videos with the craziest costume for those couple of days, and it was a big win for us. So to your point of making it fun, and it is not only a benefit to the customer, which it needs to be, but a benefit to your culture and your staff as well. So those are some of the great ideas that you can definitely implement and take away to make it successful in your dealership.
Though, is we got to remember, what is the ultimate goal of what we're trying to do with video? It's to get the customer to reply. It's get the customer engaged. So that's what I mean. It's we're all going to brand ourselves differently, and I think depending upon where you're at in the sales process with each customer, you can find out if that where that is. So a lot of people ask, well, Steve, where do I stop sending video? Well, if the customer is always watching my videos, I would keep sending that customer videos. No different than if you keep sending a customer an email or a text message. But how many times do we sit there and think about, I send a text message, I make a phone call, I send an email, I don't get a reply, but you see a customer that clicks on the video. That customer is watching that video for a reason, and they may not have engaged you yet because they may have been watching it at work, things of that nature. But at the end of the day, if you're fun with video, and I think you're building a brand. I mean, you got to think about what is that customer potentially doing with that video? Could they share that with their friends? If you see a video that's clicked on multiple times, they may have sent it to their wife, their husband, their kids, their friends, their family, and you know what? They're going to be like, "Holy cow! This guy that sent me a video of a car," and it's an upstream marketing tool to brand not only me as a salesperson, but the dealership on the culture of how you're going to treat customers.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's kind of what we talked about last time too. Them seeing that video and how unique it is, and not necessarily everyone is doing that. So from it coming from your dealership, and they could be sharing it with their friends as well. So they watch it maybe while they're out at a family event or something along those lines, and they watch it and they rewatch it just to be like, what did I just see? That's really cool. And then they show it to somebody else, and then you also spread, to them as well who you are and where you're from and that experience.
And you got to remember, you're in your community. Obviously, you're selling in, a certain mile radius of your dealerships. And, let me just take what I'm doing. Like, I go to these trade shows, just like you're doing, John. And the one thing I always question, and I think this is one of the things that, when you start doing video, you're not going to see an immediate impact. You have to believe. And I will tell you, as I'm doing video, and I have the feeling, just like everyone, am I really making an impact? And I think when I start going to a dealership, or I get somebody on the phone and somebody says, like, hey, Steve, I haven't seen, I know you've seen my Ric Flair videos, John, but where's the Ric Flair video? Or, where's your crazy videos? And I have to challenge myself every day to do, the videos. I got to find the time. But I mean, at the end of the day, I know it's making an impact. And that's what keeps charging me to obviously inspire people to start implementing the video and making sure they do it as part, because it does make a difference. And right. I mean, if you're at the grocery store in your local market and all said, hey man, you sent me that video, you just never know. And also you made a friend when you're out and about, and they're like, I remember that guy from somebody, or that gal from somebody. And I just think that those are really cool moments that you just can't put a price on, that you made an impression.
You're right. Mm-hmm. And from like a operational standpoint, because I think it's important to touch upon, video in general, because, you do have all these different video vendors and platforms out there to use. And just about everyone that I've seen has allowed somebody to reshoot a video, like if for some reason something goes horribly wrong, or whatever the excuse is, you can always reshoot that video. And when I heard that from a management level, one of the things that I worried about is I've already got a staff of people that are uncomfortable shooting these videos. The last thing I want them to do is spending is spend all of this time when they get an internet lead or, speaking to a customer, reshooting a video over and over and over again, because it kind of kills that response time. But one of the things that stood out to me for Sarah when she started to do this was the fact that after about a couple of days, she came back and I, asked her how everything was going. And she said something that really stuck out to me, which was, believe it or not, it's easier and quicker for me to shoot a video now than it is to type out a specific response back to a customer, because instead of having to make sure I have the typos and grammatically correct, I can just say it. I can add, inflection to my tone. I can get my point across, and I'm done with it. And
Yep.
to your point, 30 seconds and I'm moving on, instead of typing out a video each and every single time. So from an operations standpoint, I think it's important to call out that once you do go over that hurdle and you get over that hump, you really start to see some of the benefits there with video. So thank you so much for giving us all those wonderful tips. But before you go, I really also wanted to touch on texting with you, because texting, when you say it, people are thinking like, okay, what's so special about texting? Yes, I text. Yes, I can send a text. But you can do texting wrong, and there is an art to texting, just like with anything else. And if we want to stay true to this podcast and to all of our listeners out there, what we really want to do is continue to give them strategies to implement in their dealership to walk away to become that expert. So, from your perspective, Steve, what are some of the tips you have for texting?
Well, the major tip is, number one, make sure the dealership is number one texting in whatever platform they're using. They have to make sure. Actually, I have my thing on silent. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
But the thing that they got to make sure is, number one, that they are texting, and they should be texting in CRM, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you kind of have to measure it first and foremost is, what is my text email ratio? That's probably one of the key terminologies that I'm even hearing OEM starting to learn. Because when you look at the texting metrics, if we just kind of think about, what are you more likely to reply to, a text or an email? And more people, the texting communication is read in less than 3 minutes versus an email, which is a lot longer. All right. And a reply to a text is less than 90 seconds. So if I know that texting is more engaging, let's say 3 or even 4 times more effective than texting, number one, you got to implement it.
Mm-hmm.
So the number one thing that I tell everybody is, okay, well, I got to get the customer, I got to opt them in with whatever CRM platform I'm using. Well, if I have a customer on the phone, or if I have somebody in that showroom, so whether it's a phone up, if it's a customer that's walked in the showroom, or I got an internet lead on the phone, the number one trick that I would ask everybody to start implementing, and it's a very simple question. John, Sarah, are you a texter?
Yes.
I don't know how somebody would say no to that, but yes.
97% of Americans text. Now, let's go back to the data. If 90% of customers don't trust it, I say, John, are you a texter? And you tell me no, you know what that tells me? You don't trust me. I'm going to badger you. I'm going to call you, and I'm going to harp on you about buying a car from me.
Mm-hmm.
That is what the customer is thinking, whether you believe it or not. Okay, that's their head trash. So your goal, if that customer tells you no, that's good insight that I got to do a better job. That's number one. I mean, that's why I tell everybody. I love it when I'm doing a presentation, on, and I'll ask a GM, hey, can I get your cell phone number? And they tell me no. I'm like, I haven't earned the right yet. And I call them out on that for a training tool. But if the customer does say yes, just say, I'm going to opt in with you right now. And if you want me to, I'll send you pictures of the car right now. Give them a reason to accept your texting opt-in. It's just like, you say, are you a texter? They say, yeah, okay, great. Well, I just want to make sure I'm following up with you and sending you, whether it's videos or if, a lot of times you don't want to be bothered, because what do customers want? Time. Time is the new currency. I am not going to take phone calls like I just did because I'm on a webinar with John and Sarah, right? So here's strategy, baby. I'm busy. So I just gave them a blanketed text. Say, I'll call them back in 10 minutes or when my mouth isn't full of chocolate. So those are my default texts. But that's the idea, is if I can now communicate, I can do so much more with text. If you have a customer that is texting you back more than 10 times, you have a customer and you don't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I try to say is look for those, right now we send out a couple of emails and we may get one reply, or 10 emails, get one reply. That doesn't tell me much. That just means you got one engagement. But if I have a highly engaged customer, that's telling me a lot more information. I got their attention. Because again, at the end of the day, you're never going to sell a car to somebody that's not talking back to you. And if texting is going to be a good form of communication, we have to start doing that. It should be in the CRM, and we got to make sure we're replying back. And I think that's the number one problem is the response time to a text. We don't even know if salespeople are responding to customers that are texting us right now.
Mm-hmm.
That scares me for the dealer because expectations are less than 90 seconds. If I'm texting you, John, you don't reply back to me, I know you're ghosting me. But you know what that's going to tell me is maybe you're busy and I have to text you back maybe in a couple hours, say, did you forget me?
Mm-hmm.
Or something. So yeah, there's a lot of great strategies, but the number, really one thing that we want to do is when we're on the phone with the customer, we should always try to get that customer texted opt-in. And if we do that, you'll be more successful with your communication with each customer.
So once we get them to opt in, to offer everybody that's listening in a progressive strategy to utilize text, because just sending words via text is important and keeping it short is also important. But there's definitely ways you can, do a better job at texting a customer than somebody else. And so that kind of leads me to the hardest question I'm going to ask you today, and the one that you will probably receive the most love or hatred for, which is it GIF or GIF? Which one is it?
I say GIF because that's how the owner said it, but most people say GIF.
That's
so I go with
butter.
the owner.
Yeah, you definitely it's GIF.
I'm a GIF guy as well, but I know that to your point, supposedly the correct way to say it is GIF. So if I'm using GIFs, we've definitely seen the success with it, right?
Right.
What are some of the tactics you use when you're using these?
Well, again, and I always think about the conversation that I'm having with whoever, and I'm just telling you, there is not one person I don't send a GIF to, and that's the reality. If somebody doesn't like me because I send a GIF, they're probably the wrong person I want to work with anyway, because people always buy from who they like. My goal of sending a GIF is to relax the conversation. Mm-hmm. The tone of a GIF or the emojis, that's why they were developed just on our phone, to create a level of conversation, because texting or just words is 7%. So you get a certain level more increase with tone when you do GIFs and stickies. But if I get somebody opted in with texting, I will just open my jiffy.com and I will send like the Mrs. Doubtfire pie in the face. I type in hello and if somebody is ghosting me and I text them several times and just said, hey, you're around today, you got 5 minutes, get on the phone, and then 3 days go by, I'll send them a cricket. I'll type in crickets, and you'll be like the chirp chirp, or I send like the tap the glass one is one of my, and I'm telling you, it just works. I mean, the whole goal that, and again, if people don't want to do it, don't do it. That leaves me that more opportunity. That's the way I look at it. By all means, you call me, I'm not going to be a guy that's going to send a GIF. Man, I love you. I love you. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm fine with that. And you could have the scraps of the people I don't have. I mean, and that's fine. There's going to be people that don't like GIFs. I get it. And I'm acceptable with that. And I think that's what people got to say is this is a way of communicating. There's 1 billion GIFs done daily. I
love the stats. Love the stats.
Yeah. So to sit there and say that, this doctor doesn't communicate with GIFs. Well, I was in the OR and I was with neurosurgeons and all these guys, and I'm telling you, they're fun. They put their pants on same way as I do. They may be a nice pair of pants, but I mean, they're scrubs.
True.
But the idea is they're human peoples. Let's just be, that's it. We said 1 billion GIFs. We didn't segregate doctors, lawyers, all that stuff. But it's a fun way to communicate. And you can say okay with a GIF. If somebody says, hey, I'll see you at 2:00, send them the okay GIF or a thumbs up. You can do that and create a level of tone. And that creates that experience for the customer to want to do business with you, whether you believe it or not.
I agree.
And again, and I got to say this because I just lost, I was going to pause there, but I love it when people say, well, I provide a better customer experience. Well, you cannot have a customer's experience until you get engagement. Experience starts with engagement.
That's the truth.
So, and I just want to make sure that, so how you create that engagement is how that customer comes in if they buy the car, or, those are all the things. We got to go back and say that customer experience is all about engagement.
I agree.
Sorry.
No, you're fine at all. I was just going to say, as we wrap up this episode through GIFs and videos, you can tell that things rapidly change through communication and just speaking to customers. So do you have any thoughts or ideas on where communication is headed in the future?
Yeah, you got to baby step it, no matter whether you're sending videos or maybe, hey, I never sent a GIF. I mean, when I present on GIFs, I'm always amazed that one of the shows I did, I'll have somebody comes up to me just when I'm talking about it, and they say, I just sent my wife my first GIF. And I tell you, that excites me. I know that, but if I just impact one person from this podcast and they start doing it and they see results, that's why I like doing these things. The ones that are not going to be progressive, it's all good. They're going to be stuck in the 20-year time. They can still send emails, and they can send a lot more emails and get a lot more engagement. But I think the people that are progressive, that kind of understand that, hey, man, this is a customer's engagement, whether it is video and texting, because I believe that those two things are what's going to move the needle to get you what you want. I know to get the phone call. Take a chance. Start sending GIFs. Just pick out a couple of GIFs when you go out there and search it, and you can copy. Most CRMs have an attachment. I would tell you, what I try to always teach everybody is, if your CRM does not have GIFs in the CRM, what you can do is load up your desktop, create a file folder of your top favorite GIFs, given the situation. And the other thing too, as another point, and I started thinking about this, is look at your emojis and give when you use emojis for a certain reason, that is what you're thinking about. I'm going to send this emoji for this reason. That's what you want to send in GIFs and create a folder for that reason. So the GIFs is just an extension of what the emojis are, and it just makes that funness, and we can add words to it. Thank you. Okay. You don't have to be anything too extensive, but if somebody says, hey, can you work with me on the price of the car? You could send them a thinking video, so there's just a way, it's going to lighten up the conversation. And that's why I would always challenge you. You just got to do it. And, believe in what the results are from myself. If you guys are sending GIFs and you guys are seeing results, you just got to do it.
And so I want to take a second to just kind of stop in this episode and really thank you, Steve, because, as we started this podcast, the reason, and I know that I spoke to you about this as well. The reason we wanted to create this podcast, there's a lot of great podcasts and video casts and information that's out there. The main reason we wanted to to create this podcast is to have listeners be able to walk away with a specific strategy of how to do things and how to implement those. And, I got to say, it's always a pleasure to sit here and kind of discuss with you all of the things that, we enjoy talking about, such as video and, GIFs, not GIFs, and texting, and the different levels of engagement that we can kind of have with a customer. And, through this conversation, I'm so glad we recorded this, because I think I've said to you before that, man, I wish these conversations were recorded, because there's so much valuable information. Sometimes people have to travel to these conferences. I know that you're speaking at them. And, I highly encourage anybody that's going to Digital Dealer or NADA or any of these other wonderful conferences that they attend some of your sessions, because of the information they're able to walk away from. And that's really what we wanted to provide here for our listeners on this podcast. And I can't thank you enough for doing that. All I would challenge our listeners to do is, if you have topics or, different things that you want us to cover or answer for you, please let us know in the comments below. I am more than happy to help answer some of those questions, or get experts such as Steve on this podcast to go over them, so you can, get the answer that you're looking for.
Yeah, and please remember to share and subscribe so that we can continue to bring you this podcast, and you can be notified on your streaming services anytime we upload new content. And we are also now on YouTube, so you can feel free to see Steve's great hair.
You're going to want to see it
for this episode, and our beautiful mugshots here. But you can also subscribe to that and comment below.
And the last thing I'll add is be sure to tune in next episode where we'll be discussing phone tactics. We're breaking down engagement. We focused this episode on video and texting, and Steve did a wonderful job kind of explaining some best practices and ways to implement that in your dealership. Next, we're going to be discussing phone tactics and covering that same topic. And with phone, we're going to have Stephen on, Stephen Lowry's, who I have a ton of respect for as well. He works for a vendor, but has incredible information to add of best practices for how we can take phone calls, what to say, when we should be calling. And he's not just looking at one dealership's information. He's looking at nationwide and even outside of the United States with that information. So I'm really excited to bring him on. So again, if there's any comments or topics that you want to have us discuss, please leave it below. We'd love to go over that. And I can't thank you enough for joining us. Thanks so much.
Thank you.